And when he read it, he could not believe his eyes, because it was from the king. The king had written, "My dear sir, I do believe that you make the best of clothes. I would wish for you to travel to my castle and make clothes for me." Johannes couldn't believe his luck, to go and work for the king. Money in his pocket, food in his belly.
This one girl, taller than the rest, stronger than the rest, she said, "Old woman, I will come inside of your house." And the two of them sat down by the side of a fire, and she told another young woman, and another, and another.
Talks like this. In England, as in Colombia, there are different accents. I don't know if you've ever met anybody from Scotland, but when they say like hello and how are you, it's like, "Hello, how you doing?" I know that sounds like somebody going, "Oh wait, my hands are gone." Can you make the bottom dance? My bottom can dance, my bottom can dance, my bottom can dance. Oh, no. I want to be the queen. Ask the king of the fish to make me the queen. I can't do that. And everyone would go, "Oh, Molly, you are a clown." Can you do that with me? "Oh, Molly, you are a clown." And she had trousers that came out to here. Do it with me. And on her feet she had flippity-floppity, clippity-cloppity shoes. And her mother was beside her, hair that stuck up this way and that, a big smile on her lips, and her mother could walk on her hands. Her mother, and he was tall, and he was strong, and he was rich. He knew what it was to have gold in his pocket, and he lived by the side of the river Nile. Now, he was a good man, strong and clever, and he had worked hard. He had made sure that he had gold in his pocket, food in his belly, and a really good house. There was a king, put a crown on your head. I love the fact that the sign for
you're riding into a catastrophe by just not knowing where to put an apostrophe. All you gotta do is follow the rules. I need to know if it's by making it fit. I need to know who's by following the rules. The apostrophe catastrophe blue. Here comes another one just like that. Jump to the right, jump to the left, jump to the right and shake that dress. I look down the alley and what do I see? A long tall man from Tennessee. Bet you $5 I'll eat my hat.
This was her chance. And so, in the way that all witches can, she changed her guise. She disguised herself and changed herself into a hare. A black hare. A black hare that was as jet black as the night from the tip of its nose to the tip of its tail. Long, straight black ears that hung the full length of its body. And this woman, this witchetty woman in the guise of a jet black hare, ran in and out of all of the king's men as they were riding. Now the king looked down, and he'd never seen such a creature before in all of his life, and he started to follow after it. And he followed further and deeper and harder into the woods until he found himself far away from all of his men in the heart of the forest. And as he looked, there he saw that there was not a hare, but a woman. A woman with her back to him, with a long black hair that ran the full length of her body, and she was there with her hair caught in all of the brambles and the bushes in the thicket. Now the king wouldn't wait for a second. He jumped from his horse. And higher, and the smile on her face, and her name was Ungelara. What was her name? Angela. And she was tall. Show me. She was tall, and she was strong, and she was beautiful. Show me your beautiful faces. She was beautiful, and she was clever. And every day when the sun would come up, well done at the back there, by the way, Professor. Okay, every day when the sun would fantastic attention, really watched. There you go. Put your hand in, take something out, please. That's it, take something out. Take something out. I wish you'd keep still. Thank you very much. Well done. This is going to be at the beginning of the story. Thank you very much. Do you want to go and sit down? Now I need to ask. He was a good king. He was strong and he was kind. And every night when he lay down to sleep, he had no time to dream. Because when the sun would come up, good girl, well done. When the sun came up, he would have to go up and he would have to help everybody. But one night, he lay down. Okay. Good, okay. Your turn. Fuerte. Hang on. Plays the guitar. You jump. Okay. Ready? Go and do it again. Do it again. Oh! Oh! Do you know? Hola. Look that way. Applause. Hola. Hello. Hello. And she fell fast asleep. And she didn't go out. And I've got to say, everybody, thank you. Do this with me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And adios. Adios. The children have been fantastic. They have really sat and they've joined in well. Thank you very much.
And she had a father. Now her father's name was Juan, and he was strong in his arm. He was dark inside his eyes, and always he would carry a sword. He was not a king, but he was a warlord. And they lived together in a great house, and he rolled out of the window and down the side of the castle and out into the countryside. But where she went, wherever she went, on the ground, nothing could grow. The grass became black. The cows became... And when I tell stories, I use my hands. Everybody, wiggle your fingers. Wiggle them over here. Wiggle them over there. Wiggle them up. Wiggle them down. Try it again. I can't do that. And his wife got angry. And he ran to the side of the sea, and when he got there, do this with me. Flat fish, flounder, king of the sea, grant a wish for Isabel, but not for me. And so the crown, do it. And so the eyes, and so the fins. And the king of the fish said, well, fisherman, repeat that. Well, fisherman,
And he would say just what he was thinking of all of those people. He put on his finest coat. It had red and orange and yellow and green and blue and indigo and violet. It was trimmed with silver at the sleeves and gold at the neck. And Mullah Nasruddin strode his way back, all the way back, into the farmer's feast. He knocked on the door once and twice and 3 times, and this time when the door creaked open, before he had a chance to tell them just what he thought of them, they all went, oh, Mullah Nasruddin, you're so welcome inside of the house. Come here, take some of the chicken from my plate. Here, have one of my potatoes. Eat some of my spinach. The flatbread is yours. And before he had a chance to tell them just what he thought of them, they all shuffled to one side and made a space for him there by the side of the tables. And when he had this chance to speak, a smile crept across his lips. He took
a succulent piece of chicken. He raised it up towards his nose and he could smell how sweet and salty it was, and before he laid it upon his tongue he placed it inside of his coat. The assembled company gasped. Nasrudin, what are you doing? But none of them spoke the words, they only thought it. And here he reached for some chickpeas and he placed them up towards his lips and he sniffed at them and placed them in another pocket. And he took another piece of bread. And everyone watched him as he placed bread and gravy, chickpeas and honey inside of his coat, and finally they could not hold their tongues anymore. One turned and said, Mullah Nasrudin, what are you doing? He looked at them and said, when I stood at the door and was covered with dust and mud, you looked at what I looked like and you did not make me welcome. And now that I have come here dressed in my beautiful coat, covered with all of the colours of the rainbow, you fall over each other to fawn and say to me that you can have my food, you can eat at my table, you can sit beside me. So I decided that it was only the coat that you were interested in, and so I fed my coat. All of the assembled company felt shamed. The chicks blushed to realise that Mullah Nasrudin was correct, for he had said to them that all they had wished to look at was not him, not the man, not who he could have been, but what he looked like. And now Mullah Nasrudin sat down and he did eat. And I hope that you have learned a lesson. I hope that you realise that you looked at what I looked like and not who I was or who I could have been. And from this time, still you could smile. And from this time, you must make sure that you think about the man inside of the clothes and not the clothes themselves. Mullah Nasrudin would sit and eat and dine out on the story of when he fed his coat.
Long and well. A story from India. Thank you very much. So, I want you to understand that what we are going to do this afternoon is not about me. I just want you to know and have confidence in the fact that I can tell stories. And I'm going to show you things how you can develop your storytelling. Right. If I was to say to you, how many of you could write and tell a story now? Put your hand up if you think that you could write or tell a story right now. That's one, two. Do you know that's more than I get in England, I've got to tell you. If I have about 500 people in front of me, usually about 3 people have put their hands up. Okay, hands down. Thank you for that. Nobody ever shows us how to write a story. We say to children, write a story. If you don't feel confident, how can we get the children to be confident about writing or telling a story? And I'm going to show you a lot of different techniques. The thing about a story is, you can read it, but storytelling is different because I don't use a book. And what does that do? It means I can keep looking at you. A book, here, the children keep saying, I can't see the book. And you're going like this.
That the young Lord sacrificed the first living thing he met on his return from slaying the monster. Ready to agree to anything, young Lambton collected his metal suit the very next day. It was awe-inspiring. Jagged all over with jutting blades, there was not a finger space of his body that was not covered by armour plating, hinges or chain mesh. My young Lord Lambton, said the blacksmith, take also this fire-forged sword as a gift from my wife. Its name is Wormsbane. Wield it well, sire. Poor lad, he could barely lift the broad blade, and dragging the sword behind him, he crammed the helmet on and set off, squinting out through the peepholes.
He followed a gruesome trail of bones until at last he saw it.
The one I have just learned. You are being fantastic. Muchísimas gracias. I'm not. You ready? There was an old woman. This old woman lived by a huge stream, but the stream ran red with blood, and she did not like to be in that place. And she hoped that someday, when the sun would shine, she would remember when her sons would come back from the war. There you go. Thank you very much.
Everybody say a whiskey, please.